And we're live. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your patience. Thank you to anybody watching this back. Today, I'm going to doing a little bit of research and just talking about some things I've been looking into with Web3 and gaming, just the overall ownership of assets. And there's still a lot more I have to learn. This is mostly what I've been watching. I was looking into some other stuff as well. Definitely recommend you guys check this out. Telos Town Hall, diving into the GameStop collaboration. Shout out to Platinum Sparkles. She had mentioned it to me that this was going to be on, so didn't fully get to watch it yet. Definitely going to watch the rest. Really got to listen to the first part in depth. Second part here, I kind of got caught up doing some other things, getting ready for tonight with the stream and everything, so got to listen back a little bit as well. But there's still a lot more to be talked about, and I'm here to talk with you guys tonight. So thanks so much for being here. Got the patent pulled up, and I'm definitely going to go through some research. So I think it's important to look at competitors and really start to think, how can GameStop embrace what they're doing, and also how do they beat out anybody else that's trying to do the same thing or something similar. But let's say hi to the chat real quick. What's good, Jacksons? Thank you for being here. Happy 4th to all. Yes, happy 4th of July to everybody. Happy early 4th. 500K shares the last 15 minutes. We closed up 71 cents. Look at 110. We dropped up only 28 cents. They moved it up and down before close up 66 cents. Yeah, exactly. It's always a wild ride, right? That's just how it goes. I think I have the chart over here. We should talk GameStop real quick before we jump into everything. But yep, quite the day here. And look at that end of the day. And such limited liquidity. And that's weird. It's not even there for some reason. But, oh, it's because the market closed at... No, the market closed at 1. That's strange. Why does that look like that? But as a whole, the day had limited volume, but considering it was only a half day, this is actually a decent amount of volume, I'd say, but at the same time, not that much volume. And Freshmaker, hello, how are you? Yeah, crazy last 15 minutes. All after hours did not want us to close at $25. Options would be in the monies, I guess. Yeah, but also it's still the rest of the week, but at the same time, I don't know. Today was just a very strange trading day, especially the fact it's just a half day. I don't know. But just the usual GameStop, right? At the end of the day. Hello all. Crayon, thank you for being here. Much appreciated. But yeah, it's been an interesting ride on the charts lately. Of course, we had all the earnings action before and after, and then it's almost like nothing happened if you zoom out. Things have just kind of gone sideways for the most part, but we'll see what happens in the next few months. Kind of seems like the stock's in no man's land, so to speak, just riding along, looking for some kind of news, something else that's really going to change the direction of things. But at the end of the day, I think there's still individuals that like the stock, and anybody betting against it is probably going to continue to bet against it. Just seems evident at this point. So it's kind of a deadlock at this moment in time, but we'll see who's right in the long term, right? It's kind of as simple as that when you boil it down. But also definitely want to look at the Telos white paper today a little bit. This is going to be a bit of a challenge, but I'm going to be talking to my assistant over here, ChatGPT, and before I was talking to my other assistant, Bard, for a little bit of information, because ChatGPT has a cutoff. So I like ChatGPT for certain things, Bard for other things, but as a whole, I feel like you really have to adapt artificial intelligence now, because AI is just a part of things, whether you like it or not, and using it to your advantage to gather information, I feel like really could help you with your research and just understanding things. But I don't think you should solely rely on it in any way. Like, you should never be like, which stocks do I buy, or which stocks are going up? Tell me the best performing whatever, or give me a list of stocks that pay dividends. Give me a list of stocks that have strong balance sheets. You can do things of that nature. So give me a list of the dividend aristocrats, which are essentially dividend payers that raise their dividend every year, year after year, and just continue to grow the cash flows of the business. So those are some research methods you could use just for general finance research. But I think in general, any kind of research, there's just a lot of potential with AI. So that's how I use it, at least. And there's tons of other ways, tons of other people use it. And I also just look at it as like, it's a crazy competitive world out there. So if you're not using it, someone else is, right? So first, let's talk about GameStop Player. And in listening to Telos Town Hall, right? That where is it? Right here. You guys should definitely check this out. Listening to the first part, it made me realize not everything necessarily in this patent is going to happen right away. They said there's no plan for a mobile app at this moment in time. It's really just about a computer setup. So that's important to note. It's like, okay, before in this patent here, we see that there's possibility for downloads on TVs, smart devices, phones, right? We saw language of that nature, and it's probably better described actually in my Twitter thread here. Yeah, so this is where I had it: smartphone, tablet, TV sport. This is the nutshell version since I don't have the highlighted parts right in front of me here, but if you want to find it, it's on here. But essentially, these things aren't going to happen right away. So they're all possible because they're within the patent, but it's not happening at this point in time, which I think was kind of expected because it's not going to be all at once, suddenly this amazing platform just like that with everything going. But they did mention there would definitely be a social aspect, and I think that only makes sense with the wallet, gaming being a social thing in itself. Obviously, depending on the game, some are single player, but most games have multiplayer. And if you're going to have digital assets, you're definitely going to need that within multiplayer. So I'm sure they're going to have trading, sale of assets, or we'll see how it exactly looks, but they did kind of touch on that in the call. So I thought that was interesting. And before I get to this, this was a separate one. I didn't pull up my other research where I had. Here, I'll have to do it real quick because I don't want to pull up my email. Just gonna pull up one other document I'd taken some notes on. Short training day today. Yeah, Freshmaker, I didn't even realize. And Pam, happy early 4th. Let me see. Okay. And I gotta still fix OBS a little bit more because I know Marantz keeps trying to explain to me how to put the window on the other side, but I really have to look at it because I'm still not fully grasping it. But also, I keep remembering, like right before I'm going to stream it, I'm like, damn it, all right, I'll do it next time. I just keep putting it off. So, okay. Or the information did not want to come over. Hold up one more second. Just get the last notes. Wow, it doesn't even want to let me put it in. That's crazy. But all right, I'll put in a sticky note in that case. All right, as you guys can see, I'm a techno whiz. No, but okay. So this will be the next topic because I feel like I have to talk about GameStop before I go into the competitors. So here's what I have from the start of the conversation. And then also some timestamps here if you guys are interested. So boom. Okay. Here we have it. The Telus Town Hall into the GameStop collaboration. So these are just my starting notes. And my goal is to take notes throughout the whole thing. Talk about it on the next stream, which, by the way, unfortunately, I cannot this Wednesday, but I'm going to try and do another one either Sunday or sometime before next Monday just to squeeze one more in. Keep an eye on my Twitter. I'll let you know. But also, ultimately, what I want to do is get a bunch of notes on it and then do a long Twitter thread kind of summarizing some of the main points talked about and just additional knowledge. And then I'll build upon that over time. So at the start, obviously they do their intro and then getting to 457. They talk about setting the stage for Web3 gaming and where we're at today. And this guy, AJ Dinger, is talking a lot in the beginning. He's the head of business development. So keep in mind, Telos is not just Web3 gaming. They're also a blockchain in themselves and trying to do a couple of other things, but they discuss how gaming is now one of their main focuses. They just see a lot of attention and a lot of shift towards it, which we'll talk about in some competitors later through some of my other research. But first, let's keep talking about GameStop here. And setting the stage for Web3 gaming, where we're at today, they talk about how there's estimated 3 to 500,000 Web3 gamers as of now at this moment in time. And also keep in mind, guys, I didn't even edit these notes yet, so if anything's a little sloppy, I'll do my best to explain it or fix it up. But mostly attributable to gameplay being not so good and a lot of speculative people being involved. So they kind of talk about how a lot of people are originally playing Web3 related games for the prize, or they came in because they had to buy an NFT to be able to play it, and then it was a maybe project, right? It was such early development that nobody really knew what was going to happen with it. So that's where a lot of, I think, the negative connotations came from it, and they definitely acknowledge that, which also Colin O'Brien does. When I get to his point here, you'll kind of see it here as well, where he says, yeah, there's a lot of negative attention around it, and it starts to become a common theme in their discussion that it's Web3 functionality with Web2. I forgot exactly how they said it, but essentially the background, it's actually Web3, but the average person is just using it as if it's Web2. And then only if you want to explore the Web3 side of things, then you have that capability. But if you don't want to, you can simply play it for the game. And then the number one driving factor is the quality of the game. Because if it's about just the NFTs or digital assets, whatever you want to call it, and especially with the negative connotation of NFT now, so many people are going to be like, no, 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 I'm not doing this. Oh my God, I don't care. GameStop does it, anybody does it, but no NFTs. But if it's just like, oh yeah, this is a game I'm playing. Oh yeah, by the way, like you'll actually own the assets and be able to trade them on the marketplace or within the GameStop player client, things like that. So I think it's really nice that they touch on that. And even Colin O'Brien says down here, he understands the hurdles, getting other gamers into space, but the stereotypes of NFTs basically being a leading factor. And he sees the partnership with Player as a way for the industry to break down barriers of doubt about Web3 gaming, just because probably a lot of individuals like myself and probably you watching this that love GameStop and will try anything to do. But at the same time, the brand name of GameStop beyond shareholders, I think as well is important. So NFT, buy to play game, that's kind of what I was talking about before. Play to earn, trade being the main objectives. The average person doesn't want that. Yes, you're going to bring in these speculative people, but the average gamer is not into that. And that's where you have to break down that barrier. And I think as more games have Web3 backbones or infrastructure within it, but then it's still really about the game, that's where that stereotype starts to go away or that barrier starts to fall, however you want to look at it. But games will all be free to play and gameplay is first. Smart contracts are second. I thought that was really interesting that they mentioned that. So pretty much when you download GameStop Player, it sounds like any game you want to at least try, there's going to be some free version in some shape or form. But then maybe there's a DLC where you have to buy a digital asset, which is technically an NFT, but really it's just the DLC. And then when you open it, maybe there's 3 maps, and then you could choose to sell one of the maps, right, to a friend or trade it to a friend. Maybe there's capabilities like that. Maybe it's not that in depth. Maybe it's just a DLC itself. Once you use it, you can't trade it. Maybe you have to burn the NFT or digital asset to make it active and within your game. But at the same time, I feel like part of trading and having the ownership of the digital asset is to be able to trade it and utilize it again in the future or to truly own it. So I don't think there's always going to be a burn side to things, if that makes sense. And then they mentioned power to the players, but also power to own assets. So as a whole, again, trying to create Web3 interface, Web3 backbones and guts and nerves, and the whole body of it is made of Web3, but the face of it has just a Web2 platform, right? Just how an average gamer would think of an average game client to be now. I think that's kind of where they're going with it. And then also with the GameStop branding and everything being black and white, I think they'll be able to make it look nice. So alternative solutions like distribution or traditional game studios that are launching a platform playing favorite with their own games. So I thought that was an interesting point that he had mentioned. So AJ says, alternate solutions don't have great distribution, and with Telos partnering with GameStop, that's a neutral party who doesn't have their own games, so it's friendly for other games to want to onboard to the platform because GameStop doesn't have their own games, so they're not going to favor those on the platform. Whereas if you have a game studio that creates a game, not console, a game. Wow, totally losing train of thought. What Steam is, game client. If you have a game maker that creates a game client, then their games are probably going to be favored and pushed more. And if you're a game, you don't necessarily want to go on there. Then also, if there's a traditional game studio that doesn't already have games and they don't have the distribution, then it's not there. So with the GameStop brand name, that seems to be the driving factor for Telos, or something they sort of touch on. But before I go back into Colin O'Brien's thoughts, let me hit the chat here. Sup everyone, shop at GameStop after the fourth, support the company. Scott, this is the way. Definitely got to go there again soon. Yes, Freshmaker, you read my mind. This is the way. All should be GameStop Pro members and shop. Exactly, Jacksons. Exactly. Honestly, I'm not here to give you guys financial advice, but I will give you GameStop Pro advice. Go get GameStop Pro because you get a $5 gift card every month that you could literally go in there and just get a $5 gift card of Twitch or something else, or at least get $5 off every single month, and then you can keep shopping the company. And with tons of pro members, which by the way they also talked on in this interview or discussion rather, that GameStop has tons of GameStop Pro members, and that could be a driving factor. So the fact they mentioned that makes me think that there will be promotions with GameStop Pro driving individuals to use GameStop Player. And I've said it again, I've said it in the past, and I'll say it again. I think GameStop should really drive individuals in the store to go online and try and utilize the GameStop Player platform, create some kind of incentive, scan a QR code in the store to send yourself an email or some information and automatically create a wallet. Maybe there's somebody there that knows how to help you. I don't know. They have to make it like super simple where again, the average person, the average gamer can just want to use it, and then it has Web3 backbones, but it just seems like a new gaming thing. And the future of gaming, right? And they'll just think, okay, I don't quite understand, but I like the games. I think that's really the barrier you have to break down. If you could get people in that mindset more so, then all of a sudden it doesn't really matter whether it's a Web3 game or not, or you own your digital assets or not to the average person, whereas the digital ownership, I think, is the way games are going. But to the average person who's just focused on the game and not even worried about where things are going, that's what breaks down the barrier, if that makes sense. But yeah, all should be GameStop Pro members and shop. Can't agree more, Jacksons. Can't agree more. But again, talking on Colin O'Brien, the head of gaming, understands the hurdles of getting other gamers into space, the stereotypes of NFTs being a leading factor. So something I want to quickly touch on, Bitcoin's starting to rally again. The Bitcoin halving is coming up in, I believe it's April 2024. So that's less than a year away. Historically, that's always been around the time of the next bull market, with the US dollar continuing to be printed, inflation continuing to run. I do think it's possible we get another crypto cycle soon. Of course, I don't give financial advice. I'm not telling you to do anything particular. I'm just saying Bitcoin's becoming more and more interesting to me as an alternative asset, and I'm not putting my life savings into it. And I'm also of the understanding that it could go to zero, and maybe I don't know anything about it, right? Maybe I'm just not as smart as I think, but I do believe in it, and I do believe in blockchain as a whole and everything they're doing here, and not that GameStop's invested in direct coins. But my point is, a bull market for crypto as a whole, which I do believe is coming, is bullish for the digital asset space because it really just all starts to get more conversations around it and more attention around it. And as I'm going to show you in a few minutes, you'll see a lot of other companies are low-key already looking at Web3 and interested in digital ownership of assets and monetizing it in the best way they can, or just being ahead of the curve, as GameStop, I believe, is attempting to be. Whereas you have these articles saying, oh, GameStop tried NFTs and you saw how that worked out. I wonder how this GameStop player thing's going to work. It's going to be trash, bad, right? That's what anybody who has a negative connotation against the company is saying. However, I think the NFT marketplace is just going to be a piece to the big puzzle. And I don't think I finished my thought before in saying, and again, I've said it in the past, that there should be something in the store driving individuals online to GameStop Player, but then maybe there's something on GameStop Player that says, go to your local GameStop, be one of the first 100 people on this day, and then you'll get this in this new game that just launched. Like, if you can really vertically align the business where you have individuals wanting to go to the store from being online and seeing something, and vice versa, being in the store and wanting to go home and go online. So I really think vertical integration is the way they have to go. And I feel like Ryan Cohen has that type of vision, considering the way they did things with Chewy. Very personal, very customer service first, and with margins on certain pet items, that's tough to make. So you really have to make smart business decisions. And maybe some people say, oh, you're beating a dead horse talking about Ryan Cohen being a great leader. But I really think it's important because success is driven from the top down. And when you have a hardworking individual at the top who also has the power to get rid of you if you're working amongst him and you're not working to his level, to his standard, when he himself has a high standard, I think that really just goes a long way. And if you think about your own personal work environment, whereas your certain managers over time or certain supervisor, however your structure is at your job, or maybe you are the supervisor and you see how things are based on the type of individual that's in charge. So the fact Ryan Cohen's now CEO and chairman of the board, I think it's just a huge deal. But any thoughts on last July's stock dividend split with the paperwork filed incorrectly that allowed brokers to handle the stock split? Interesting info coming out a year later. Yeah, Jackson's, at the end of the day, I think the whole thing is very strange. How it's a stock dividend, but then certain brokers say, oh, well, we just did this as a regular stock split. We didn't do the stock dividend. And it seemed like theoretically, in certain ways, a stock dividend of shares hurts short sellers because of the nature of the splitting. And if you are theoretically hiding short positions or just having a short position in a swap or ETF or contract of some kind, right, with another party, that's more difficult to calculate maybe when a stock's in the form of a stock dividend than a regular stock split. So at the end of the day, I don't really know, but I think as a whole, a stock split was a good thing just because it allows more individuals to get a whole share sooner. And I feel like I like it at this number. And when I see it go to 100 again, I'm going to be like, wow, that's really nice. And then I think maybe they do another split. So not that a split truly changes the value, but I do think, hey, maybe, yeah, if anything, it did something to just burn anybody betting against the stock. If not, then okay, it's just a little bit of a lower price. So I'm kind of thinking, there's probably a reason that maybe I don't quite understand. So there is some potential there, but I feel like we won't truly 100% know until maybe there's a case study on GameStop several years later, right? Decades later, like, wow, when you do a stock dividend, this is what happens. And wow, if you actually look at Tesla's stock dividend, or two stock dividends rather, in the form of stock splits in the form of stock dividends prior to, maybe there's some correlation and maybe someone will do some case study on it. So I think there's certainly a possibility, but it's one of those things. There's just so much we don't know, right? There's so much we just can't see. So at the end of the day, it's truly a mystery. Got to get some Switch cons swapped out. Stoked at the warranty at GameStop. Super handy. Scott, I've been meaning to get a Switch. I keep thinking about it, but I'm not too sure because, again, I'm trying to just keep saving and just allocating my money in different ways. And don't get me wrong, I'm definitely going to get a Switch and I'm definitely going to shop GameStop, but I'm just like, is now the time to get a Switch or is it in the future? Because then when you get a Switch, you got to start buying the games and do I want to add another reoccurring expense for myself? But then I'm like, well, I'd be adding a GameStop reoccurring expense, so it's kind of okay. But at the same time, I'd love to buy their stock some more. So got to weigh the options out here. But I'm getting a Switch sooner than later because I do love the GameCube. I love the Wii. So I know I'm going to love the Switch. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. When they launch Mario Sluggers for the Switch, it's game over. I'm getting it in a heartbeat. It's my favorite game growing up. It was awesome. You were spot on regarding breaking the NFT bad public image, making the tech is unnoticeable and convenient in the way forward. General public does not give it shit how it works, just that it works. Exactly, Crayon, exactly. Most tech takes a few years for adoption. NFT smart contracts are still fresh technology. Agree. Best, much agreed. Game hard on some Mario Kart. Exactly, Scott. Mario Kart is such a wave. I gotta do another stream with my brother soon. Just doing like a Mario Kart game or Mario Party, something like that. Maybe even Mario Sluggers. That could be a good time. But Crayon, you actually just made me think of something as well. Yeah, that the general public doesn't care how it works, just that it works. And then also the tech is unnoticeable. And something I notice is names like Immutable and Telos are building during this bear market. You don't see them doing mass layoffs or, yes, maybe their coins aren't doing well, but I think a lot of the people now looking at them for the gaming aspect of things aren't so concerned with their tokens. Although GameStop has their program with Immutable where they're creating incentives. I have to look back on it. It's been a while now, so I apologize. I don't want to misspeak about it, but essentially they're incentivizing games to onboard to Immutable, like on the Immutable chain, with Immutable X tokens as an incentive. And that's also something that's expressed in cash flows quarter over quarter because of how it's a liability, but that's something I'm going to have to pre-prepare if I want to fully talk about it. But regardless, the next point I want to make is I think Telos, they touch on it, but it's going to tie everything together. So everything's been being built behind the scenes, a lot of the technology, but the Telos GameStop player platform, I think, has to use Immutable X, Loopring. Everything really has to be brought together because otherwise, why would you have been partnering this whole time? Yes, sure, you maybe have certain NFTs on the NFT marketplace, but I think it's really all about GameStop Player again and vertically aligning everything. So to me, it would only make sense for the GameStop Player to have the immutable chain integrated as well, because after all this time and immutable building behind the scenes as well, I don't think you could just throw that to the side and be like, yeah, sorry, it's not a part of GameStop Player. To me, that wouldn't make sense, but that's just kind of how I'm envisioning it right now. Then AJ Dinger touches on infrastructure. It needs to be easy to sign in wallets with no seed phrases. Again, touching on Crayon's point in the chat, that has to be simple for the average person. They don't care how it works, just the fact it works. Social sign-ins such as email logins, stuff that feel familiar. Again, the Web2 face, but the Web3 pipes for the platform. It's going to feel like a Web2 experience. Every game on GameStop Player has a free-to-play option. Whoops, wrote that twice, but again, I think it's an important point because it incentivizes a lot of people. Yeah, let me see what's on this GameStop Player thing. Maybe I'll just check it out. All the games are at least free to play to try, so let's see what's going on here. And then also, I think then less people going on like, oh, I'm going to go earn a bunch of money playing this game. It doesn't become about that. And then again, slowly getting rid of the negative connotation around NFT, which overall I think possibly the name is soiled forever or a really long ass time until the average person truly understands what a smart contract is and what a digital asset is. Just even in a minor aspect, doesn't have to be that the average person knows how to perfectly explain it. Not that I can perfectly explain it and I'm some expert, but just to generally know what it is. I feel like until then, everyone's gonna be like, oh, monkey pictures, NFTs, ha ha ha. Justin Bieber bought one and lost all this money, and like all these people. So it is what it is, right? And there's always gonna be challenges, right? And there's always gonna be ups and downs, and that's just a challenge GameStop Player, Telos, and the Web3 gaming industry as a whole kind of has right now. So the value proposition mentioned by AJ Dinger, I believe this is around the 15-minute mark, 12-minute mark maybe. Traditional gamers most want in-game assets, utility, and true ownership. If the game maker themselves has custody of the assets in the game, they would have to register as a bank holding company. So having the platform is something that needs to be familiar, simple, something people are willing to try with or without interest in Web3. So they're looking to obviously bring in a lot more new gamers and games that want the potential to utilize Web3 and see that maybe their gamers want to truly own their assets or see a way they can implement it to the benefit of the gamer and just, again, owning your own asset. And there has to be, I don't know how to put this, but I don't want to say more interest in wanting it, but as you see more things like not censored but controlled, it just makes more and more sense for people to want to own things. And it also just seems to be the way things are shifting, because if you look at creators and how they work with brands now and they sign these huge brand deals, it's not that they go on TV in a certain way or do a commercial. It's the creators working individually with that brand to create a commercial. There's no like agency necessarily in between, or everybody has their own platform through social media. So really, I think a lot of things are becoming about ownership. And as everything's getting a lot more digitalized, and then maybe some ownerships are taken away or adjusted in a certain way, everything's slowly turning that way. And then this is kind of leading to my next point. So you think, okay, well, it's just GameStop doing this. Why would everybody go to this? But there's other companies getting involved. And I apologize for not saying it in the best way, but there's definitely other companies that are interested in this. And damn, I don't know why my nose is so itchy right now. It's like dust down here or something. I don't even know. Game hard on Mario Kart, of course. Supporting the company and buying the stock are equal. Stock can't rise if the company doesn't have sales. Treat yourself and get that Switch. I might have to, Scott. I might just have to. Hey, Tetron, Aster, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Oh, I apologize. All chat. Oh, yes, all chat was on the side here. Let's go. But we're going to go into the conversation now with my assistant Bard. So let's see what we got here. But I know I had saw a while back that Activision was interested in Web3 gaming a little bit. So I'm like, let me ask my buddy Bard, my assistant, what's going on here? So I said, has Activision expressed any interest in Web3 gaming? Bard, yes, Activision has expressed interest in Web3 gaming. In a recent interview, the company's chief strategic officer, Ken Zyla, said that Web3 has the potential to transform the game industry. He also said that Activision is actively exploring the possibilities of Web3 gaming. Zyla's comments come at a time where there is growing interest in the Web3 gaming among both gamers and investors. So this is just, AI's automated added part here. Web3 gamers are games that use blockchain technology to allow players to own their in-game assets. This could potentially give players more control over their gaming experience and could also lead to new ways to make money for gaming. See, while this is the AI generated part, the part to understand that Telos is talking about is that that's not the main point. It's still mostly about the game. Yes, maybe that's an added aspect. Yes, maybe that's more of an aspect in some games than others. However, it's not the leading aspect. The game is the leading aspect. But Buddy Bards, Buddy Bard, that's what I'm going to call it. Buddy Bard says it is still too early to say what the future of Web3 gaming will be, but Activision's interest in the space is a sign that the industry is gaining momentum. It will be interesting to see how Activision's plans for Web3 gaming develop in the coming years. Here are some additional details about Activision's interest in Web3 gaming. In January 2023, Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick said the company is watching Web3 closely. In February 2023, Activision Blizzard filed a patent for blockchain-based gaming system. In March 2023, Activision Blizzard acquired the mobile game development studio Lucid Site, which specializes in blockchain games. So they make an acquisition, they mention it on an earnings call, I believe, or I would have to fact check exactly where that's mentioned. But again, AI for me is summarizing data and just getting the start of it. And I know I've seen that Activision's talked on it. So you could definitely look that up. Of course, correct me if I'm wrong or if my buddy Bard is wrong in some way. But the patent also, that's a blockchain based system. It's in the name, right? That's literally Web3 right there in itself. So these actions suggest that Activision is serious exploring the potential of Web3 gaming. It remains to be seen whether the company will ultimately decide to launch its own Web3 games, but its current actions suggest that it is at least considering the possibility. I think that's a very fair statement right there, Mr. Buddy Bard. So I said, have they said anything else? Yes, Activision has said a few more things about Web3 gaming. In a recent interview, Ken Zila, the company's chief strategic officer, said that Web3 gaming is still in its early stages, but that Activision is excited about the potential of this technology to transform the gaming industry. He also said the company is committed to exploring the possibilities of Web3 gaming and that it is looking for ways to bring the benefits of this technology to our players. In addition, Activision has been actively hiring for Web3 gaming roles. In February 2023, the company posted a job listing for Web3 product manager, who would be responsible for leading development of Web3 products and services for Activision Blizzard. In March 2023, the company also posted a job listing for a Web3 blockchain engineer that would be responsible for building and maintaining blockchain based systems for the company. So, sounds like they're definitely interested in building on it if they're going to go out and hire after getting a patent and making an acquisition. Again, may not be the largest thing. It may not be like, yeah, we're going all in on this, but there's definitely active interest here. There's no doubt about it. So seeing a competitor, obviously GameStop wants to outcompete the competitor, but you have to understand that if there's other names trying to get involved in it, it's like, okay, well, there's something going on here. There's a shift going on if the big boys are trying to get involved as well, right? So that's at least my perspective. So a Web3 product manager, that sounds to me like digital assets, probably some coding stuff for leading development of Web3 products and services. Yeah, so definitely an engineer of some kind. And then a Web3 blockchain engineer, probably to just assist on that team that they're building. They probably hired a few, I would imagine. And again, probably not a massive team, but just something they began on. And maybe as they expand, we continue to see more hiring for it. And it'd be interesting, if somebody wants to look right now, you can let me know, or I'll check later on Indeed or something. Just look up like Activision Web3 games or see if anything else comes up. Maybe there's more job listings. Who knows? These hirings suggest that Activision is serious about its plan for Web3 gaming. It remains to be seen what the company will ultimately do in this space, but its current action suggests the company is at least considering a possibility of launching its own Web3 games. It's possible. Who knows? Maybe they want to do their own platform. I don't know about that being their method, but here's a few more quotes they say, or that were mentioned. We're excited about the potential of Web3 to transform the gaming industry. By the CEO again, we're committed to exploring the possibilities of Web3 gaming and bringing the benefits of this technology to our players. Ken Zila, Chief Strategic Officer. So the fact that the strategic officer has a couple quotes on here makes me think a potential future strategy is getting involved in Web3 games, which again, GameStop's going to have to beat them out as a competitor, and you want to outcompete the competitor. But just the fact there are competitors shows me there's interest moving in this direction from the big boys. We're hiring for Web3 gaming roles because we believe this technology has the potential to revolutionize the way we play games, said an Activision spokesperson. There we go. A few different individuals from Activision. And by the way, their deals fell out with Microsoft, but I'll show you right here as I'm about to scroll down. Microsoft has also shown a little bit of interest in Web3 as a whole and their gaming side of things, because keep in mind, they were trying to acquire Activision to just further vertically align everything they do with just internet and computers and freaking like everything, right? But it will be interesting to see how Activision's plan for Web3 gaming develop in the coming years. The company has a long history of innovation in the gaming industry, and it will be exciting to see what it can do in this new, rapidly evolving space. It certainly will be, certainly will be. But it'll be more exciting to see what GameStop does, if you ask me. But for real, thank you guys all for being here tonight. Always appreciate all you guys, and just doing my best with the research out here. I'm just gonna keep rocking and rolling. But for those of you that missed it, I'm talking to my buddy Bard. I'm just going to keep going here. We're just looking at some competitors and some of the other companies that have expressed interest in Web3 gaming to show that it's not just GameStop doing it, and it's not just, oh my God, nobody's trying to do this, or oh my God, why are they doing that? I think they're just trying to be first in having the infrastructure built. And because they've been building it for a while, and I would imagine it's been part of Ryan Cohen's plan from day one, at least that's my opinion. I think he saw a way to evolve things and a path back to growth. I don't think he just said, okay, I'm just going to buy into it and figure it out, right? I'm just going to go buy 10% of the whole thing, 11%, whatever it was at that moment of time. And then just, yeah, we'll see what happens. And then boom, the idea just came. I think he had at least the general loose idea of how he was going to go about it, maybe not the exact partners from the beginning. Damn, I don't know why my nose is so itchy. I don't know if I have like dust down here. God. I think it's one of those things too. When you start itching, you can't stop itching. It's crazy. But so other companies have commented on Web3 gaming. That's what I want to know. So this is how I use AI to research. I just keep asking questions and I go, oh, that's interesting. Oh, let me go look more into that. Or, oh, let me ask you about this now. So you just kind of keep building on your knowledge. Whereas you do a Google search, it's one thing. You go back, find another source, go back, find another source. Okay, now maybe you Google search something else. AI is fast, fast, fast. Information, information, information. And then you could sort it out. And the problem for me is now trying to organize it, but that's why I started like this today. And I was doing this on a separate computer. So I figured, okay, let me put in a Word document and kind of just organize it a little bit better for myself. And then also Bard doesn't save it, whereas ChatGPT will save your chats, like when you have it on the side here. Like I have them minimized right now, but regardless. So here are the other major companies that have commented on Web3 gaming. So EA Sports, or EA, just Electronic Arts, right? EA CEO. I just think of EA Sports in the game. I just like auto said that when I saw EA. But EA CEO Andrew Wilson has said that the company is watching Web3 closely and that is excited about the potential of this technology to transform the gaming industry. To CEO, I'm assuming that's Take-Two. Strauss Zalik. Let's see. Let's ask my assistant here. Oh, let's see who is Take-Two. Let's see. All right, whatever. Someone will have to check that. But regardless, getting back to the points here, has said that the company is open to exploring the potential of Web3 gaming, but that it is not yet convinced this technology is ready for prime time. I think that's fair, right? But GameStop evidently is, and any company that's not, and then if it does become that way, where it's prime time, all of a sudden you're behind, right? So it's an interesting way to look at it, but I think, of course, anything that's new, there's always mixed opinions. But Sony has not made any official statements about Web3 gaming, but the company has been hiring for Web3 roles. So sounds like Sony's on the low key trying to get involved with it, or at least building it a little bit, or they're doing something, right? You wouldn't hire Web3 roles for no reason, but that's very interesting that there's no public statements, but maybe the AI just didn't pick it up from out there, from all the information it analyzes. Maybe there is statements out there that I just haven't seen, but that might be something I have to kind of further look at today or in the future. But Microsoft has been more vocal about its interest in Web3 gaming. In January 2023, the company announced it was investing in Immutable X, a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum that is specifically designed for NFTs and gaming. And keep in mind, GameStop's partnered with Immutable X. Microsoft's already partnered with GameStop. So that's something interesting to think about. See if there's anything there one day in some shape or form, potentially. Probably not the number one thing to look at, but just interesting connection there. NVIDIA also has been investing in Web3 gaming. In February 2023, the company announced it was partnering with the Sandbox, a virtual world that is built on the Ethereum blockchain. So, you have Sandbox and Decentraland that have kind of been trying to do this, but to me, they look like super old, like video games that just are very underdeveloped. I don't know, but I also don't know a lot about their blockchains and the projects themselves. So I guess it's not entirely fair to say that, but they seem like they have a lot of catching up to do. So these are just a few of the many major companies that are commented on Web3 gaming. The industry is still in its early stages, but it's clear that there's a lot of interest for both gamers and investors. It'll be interesting to see how the space develops in the coming years. So I said, have any of the companies mentioned filed patents related to Web3 gaming? And sure enough, looky what we have here. My buddy Bard says yes. Some of the companies mentioned have filed patents related to Web3 gaming. Here are a few examples. Activision Blizzard has filed a patent for a blockchain based gaming system that will allow players to own their in game assets. As mentioned before, but again, that's proof in the pudding right there. They're literally going out there spending money and acquiring a patent of some kind because of something that they want to do. So, what will this blockchain based gaming system be? What exactly does that mean? What does that look like? Who knows? I don't. We'll have to find out as time goes on. Electronic Arts has filed a patent for a system and method for providing digital assets in a blockchain based gaming environment. So, sounds like some kind of reward system through a blockchain of some kind. That's what it sounds like very loosely to me. But again, using AI, I could say, right, explain this to me in simple terms. If I want to grab this right here, explain this in simple terms. Certainly, let me explain in simpler terms. So electronic arts, see, look, it's giving me a whole thing. Now let's break down this means. Digital assets in the context of gaming, digital assets refers to the items or objects that within a game, for example, virtual currency, weapons, characters, or virtual items that can acquire, trade, or use in game. Blockchain-based gaming environment. Blockchain is technology that enables secure and transparent digital transactions. In the gaming industry, blockchain-based gaming environment means using blockchain technology to manage and track ownership transactions and interaction with digital assets in a game. So EA's patent suggests that they're exploring the idea of using blockchain technology to create a system or method for managing and providing digital assets in their game. This could potentially offer benefits like improved security, transparency, and ownership tracking for players' virtual items. So very interesting. It's worth noting that the filing a patent doesn't guarantee the idea will be implemented or that it'll become a reality. It simply means EA is claiming ownership of the concept and exploring its potential application in their gaming ecosystem. It's absolutely a great take because it's true. It doesn't mean anything for certain, but what it does mean is there's interest in it, and when there's interest in it, and you see other names going after it, it seems like they're all like, okay, well, just in case this is a big thing, we got to have some presence here, and that's kind of my viewpoint on it. But also read at the top here, it's a company known for creating and publishing video games. They recently applied for a patent, which is a legal document that gives them exclusive rights to an innovation or idea. The patent applied for is related to a system and method for providing digital assets in a blockchain-based gaming environment. But going back to the notes here, so Take Two Interactive, oh yeah, so that was Take Two from before. Take Two Interactive has filed a patent for a system and method for. Oh, you know what? I'm just realized it was Activision the one that got bought out, or Take Two. Yeah, no, it was Activision, the one that got blocked. But regardless, side note, Take Two Interactive has filed a patent for a system and method for providing player-owned virtual assets in a blockchain-based gaming environment. So they all kind of sound relatively similar, but it seems like they all kind of want to have their own thing just getting started. Sony has filed a patent for a system and method for providing in-game items in a blockchain-based gaming environment. Makes sense why they hired this blockchain engineers, right, for Web3, despite not actually publicly saying anything. They have a patent and they're hiring, so actions speak louder than words, right? Microsoft has filed a patent for a system and method for providing digital assets in a blockchain based gaming environment. That's huge because Microsoft has their hands in a lot of things, and GameStop has a partnership with them as well. So, not that their partnership will exactly have to do with Web3, but again, just something interesting that another big name getting involved with it. And NVIDIA has filed a patent for a system and method for providing digital assets in a blockchain-based gaming environment, but not exactly sure what NVIDIA is filing it for. I understand they're providing, chips, and yes, they have data centers, but we'll see. I mean, they're just getting into a lot of different things, and it's incredible how much NVIDIA's market cap is growing. It's like almost $1 trillion, if not at $1 trillion right now. So, hey, they even have a patent too. That's just another big name up there. These patents are just a small sample of the many that have been filed in recent years. The interest in Web3 gaming is clearly growing, and is clearly that clearly, oh sorry, and it is likely that we will even see more patents in the upcoming years. It is important to note that patents do not guarantee that a company will actually launch a Web3 game. However, the fact that these companies are filing patents suggests that they are at least considering the possibility. It'll be interesting to see how these patents develop in the coming years and whether they lead to the launch of new Web3 games. That's my buddy Bard right there. So definitely a lot of good information, and my face does not want to stop itching. I don't know why, but I'm maybe getting like allergies or something. But Hey Tetron, yes sir. Sub Tetron, Chad, thank you for being here. Thank you for stopping in. Sadly, big game companies can try to build their own platform and infrastructure for Web3 gaming. For example, Activision Blizzard could launch their own Web3 games on the Battle.net launcher only. I feel like, yeah, that's possible, Freshmaker, but that's what we're really going to have to see. How does GameStop onboard onto GameStop Player? And is there some shape or form where other game makers are putting their game on the platform? Is there some incentive for them? Is there some way it doesn't hurt them, right, as a competitor? So, like, how is it really going to look? That is a great question, right? So, I feel like I'm going to have to do a little bit more information on that, get back to you a little more. But yeah, still a lot more to organize, and then there's still a lot more I have to listen to with the Telos Town Hall, that's for sure. See, I'm only about 30 minutes in.
So that's already kind of a layer two.
And then definitely a lot more to look at. And then also I want to research these individuals a little bit, see what they've kind of done or what degrees they maybe have in college, stuff like that. So just really kind of go down the rabbit hole. It's something I really have to improve upon for myself as an individual. My streams, I got you guys. I'm really going to try and put more effort into writing things down and organizing my material, get it into Twitter threads, get it put on the screen in the videos, just so it's really a lot more easier to digest and understand, and just get the information out there because I don't think there's a whole lot of people other than me, Morantz, Richard Newton, certain accounts on Twitter, right? There's not a whole lot of people putting out information on GameStop. You just see a lot of, articles with like baloney titles and baloney information, right? Like if you just go on Yahoo Finance and you were like, oh, what's the latest with GameStop stock? And you were just like the average person, not knowing anything about GameStop, not following anything that's happened since January 2021. Like, oh, let me see. Oh, GameStop movie breaking down the cast. Let me look into that. Oh, insider trades. Okay. Oh my God, they're gonna sink. Meme stocks could buy, struggling. And then what did Ryan Cohen say? It's just like it's all silliness, right? It's all silliness when you just look here and it's like, oh man, two analysts and it's way out of its price range. Like it is hilarious to me too that was this Wedbush is always like moving the price around. Let's see the analyst target. Then you have three analysts who will do like estimates. And it is interesting, for the year, they still have negative EPS. For the following year, they have the same thing, which I have a very hard time believing because there's still cost cutting that's being finalized. And now you have the potential for GameStop Player to bring in new revenue. And I don't think it's going to be a ton. I think it's just going to be that starting amount. But, they'll just continue to have to build upon that. And then also a lot of the groundwork for building the infrastructure for maybe GameStop Player will be taken care of. So maybe there's a little bit of less cost there. And just as a whole, once you have GameStop Player in place, and yes, you'll keep adding to that, and yes, you'll keep trying to grow that. But if you're in a position where now you're just pretty much breaking even, or maybe you have the possibility in a rising interest rate environment to use the cash earned from your marketable securities to start to buy back a little bit of stock. I don't think dividends are coming right away. I think shareholder buybacks or share buybacks are coming sooner than later. But that might be something that's not really happening until 2024 when it's like looking almost certain profitability is going to be consistent quarter after quarter. So maybe share buybacks don't even come till around this time or later this time next year. So it's a long game, of course, but I don't think you want to get ahead of yourself. And I think when you are stock as liquid as GameStop, and there'll be tons of other individuals acquiring shares leading up until then, and then any kind of institutional buying is bullish. You have a very liquid stock, it starts to move it up. And then if you have share buybacks on top of that, that's extremely bullish because just because there's not a lot of shares trading, not a lot of shares out there, so you don't even have to buy a lot to theoretically push up the price. But then again, there's some allegedly strange things always going on with GameStop stock price, right? So that's how it is what it is, right? Like that's how it is. But in the long term, as more individuals keep buying shares, as institutions start to get interested because the company's raising cash flows, raising EPS, and just improving over time and starting to deliver value to shareholders by buying back shares, which is also just taking less shares away. That window just starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller to exit, and just more and more painful if you're betting against the company in any which way, right? So that's just something to think about. And another stock, I want to make a video on this soon. I've been saying this forever. I should freaking do it. Been slacking. Dillard's. Dillard's is another stock, right? Owned mostly by a family of the last name Dillard. But the reason I bring it up is because it's a highly liquid stock and there's a lot of insider ownership, right? Because of the family name Dillard. And there's not a lot of shares that trade, and share buybacks and special dividends and just their regular dividend have been ways they've delivered value to shareholders. But if you look at their revenue year over year, it's not even like it's increased massively or anything like that. So if you look at it here, there's started to become a lot of short selling activity in this period, from what I understand, especially right here and especially around the time of the pandemic. And it's just another retailer, right? Oh, they're going to go down. They said, nope, we're going to buy back shares. Our insiders have a bunch of shares registered in our name, from what I understand. And we're going to buy back shares. We're going to do a special dividend. And then we're going to do another special dividend at the start of 2022. They did it in the start of 2021. So shareholders have received two special dividends, been receiving the regular dividend, and shares have been repurchased with strong insider ownership. So this is just an example of an illiquid stock. And also in this time frame, the revenue has pretty much been flat. Like if I go to micro trends right here real quick, like I know I have Telos right here, and maybe I should do this in another one. Damn, my face will not stop itching today, guys. I don't know what it is. I don't know what is going on. But you're doing great, man. Appreciate the hard work you do. Thank you, Crayon. Thank you. I'm just doing what I can do, man, and I'm gonna just keep stepping it up as time goes on. But just building brick by brick. And check this out. I realize I got to figure this out because it needs to be a front-facing camera, or this will just be backwards. There's no point in having it in the background because it's reversed for you guys. But we got the setup slowly building out here. I got a couple microphones for when I'm doing interviews. Like you plug it in the phone, and then it's equal microphones. So let's see. What is going on here? I don't need 1970, dude. What is going on? Wow, they've been around a long time too, this stock. So it seems almost like right here, a lot of it, I have to see exactly what the triggering factors were, but if you look at the story as a whole, it's share buybacks, direct uh, insiders owning a massive amount of shares, shares outstanding declining over time. I don't know why it keeps going to this, but let's see, net income. So it doesn't want to load for some reason, but maybe if I go on the other side here, macro trends. But essentially, what I'm trying to show you guys is they didn't even raise their revenue in the case of Dillard's. They just started managing their cash as efficient as possible by doing special dividends, share repurchases, and just keeping a strong balance sheet. And pretty much, if the stock price is low, they're like, all right, we're going to buy back shares. And regardless, we're just going to return value in the form of dividends, no matter what's happening with the short selling activity. At least that's kind of my viewpoint on it. If anyone has any additional information, definitely feel free to share it. I don't know why nothing wants to load here with this, but essentially, their revenue did not increase year over year if you're looking at it. So, what I'm trying to say is, as GameStop gets in a position to drive shareholder value initiatives, their performance doesn't even necessarily need to be revenue growth 20%, 20%, 20% year over year. Just strong, steady, minimal revenue growth. I mean, obviously, you don't want it to be minimal, you want it to be maximum, but even just some revenue growth in slower time periods, or just at a time period where things are ramping up and being built and developed and understood, and just infrastructure is being more vertically aligned. Maybe there's an acquisition in there that just makes it more profitable over time. All these different things. In that time, if you have a strong balance sheet and you're managing your capital well, and this is something, by the way, I've realized in researching GameStop and then starting to look at other companies and understand how Ryan Cohen is trying to operate things, or at least my viewpoint of how he's trying to operate things. I think this is the direction he's trying to take the company. And when you look at a name like Dillard's, you're like, okay, well, they've kind of done this in the sense they've delivered a lot of shareholder value, and it's not like they've even done anything dramatic with their business. GameStop's trying to shift their business, and then I think also get in a spot where they could start delivering shareholder value and then continue shifting their business to be in a growth position. And then another random stock I was looking at recently, right? And I just look at other stocks. I feel like to become familiar with other names and try and envision what GameStop's going to become. But at least that's my viewpoint. And also, I have interest in other things. I try and just become aware as much as possible, right? You got to continue to learn. I really feel like that's important. So Texas Instruments, right? Not dramatically raising their revenue, but in this time period here, if you go on their investor relations, they bought back so much stock and they've continued to significantly raise their dividend. They have a fairly strong balance sheet. I was looking at it, right? They have a lot of cash and marketable securities, and all of their debt is pretty much priced at the current value of the federal funds rate or less. So essentially, their money market securities and cash equivalents are earning as much interest on their cash as, or if not more, than the percentage of debt, right? Like to give you a better example, I realized my last student loan, and by the way, I'm going to make a last private student loan payment this Wednesday, 2 days from now, and then I'm done with it. Discover, goodbye. See you later, sucker. Freaking ridiculous interest rate. I don't know what I was thinking, but we're out of it, right? Wonderful times. But then I have my federal student loan, and from what I understand, and I'm going to double check this and confirm, or triple check, I've already checked it twice, but my interest rate is 1.1% over a 10-year period. I'm going to accumulate 5.5K in cash, keep it as an emergency savings, and then earn 4% in a money market account, or 4.7 if I go to like Fidelity's money market account, right? Ally Savings is about 4% right now. That's a high yield savings account. And I'm going to earn 4%, and then I'll just pay what I'm earning to make the payment each month. So essentially, I'll be earning more on my cash that I'm actually paying in interest on the loan. So unless the interest rate is below 1.1% in a money market account of some kind that I can get, which I don't see happening for a long time, I would rather accumulate an emergency fund and just pay off my debt over a 10-year period. And when you're a company in extremely good financial standing, such as financial Texas Instruments has been for a very long time, right? Or just a company that's well established for a long time, you get in a position where you can you can issue your debt or you can issue your bonds at a similar interest rate to a government security. And that just means you're rated extremely high, right? Like double A, triple A, whatever. So my point is that's something GameStop gets to do in the future. Like no debt right now is a fantastic thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying GameStop should get debt, but I'm saying in the future, when they're of that high status and they're profitable for several years and already driving shareholder initiatives, they can start to accumulate a little bit of debt to build up their balance sheet on the cash side if they see interest rates rising in the future. If they can do that prior to, right? An example of a company that did that was Fortinet. It's a cybersecurity company. So, and these are all just random points, right? And just thoughts on how GameStop could be in the future. So now this has kind of gone away from the Web3 gaming side of things, but I really feel like that's their growth driver. Whereas these other names, that there's not like a new segment of business they're getting to. They've just been kind of doing what they're doing consistently over time. But I think when GameStop has that new segment to continue to grow into, I think Web3 gaming is going to take literally a decade plus to fully get just the average gamer completely on board, the all of the average gamers, so to speak, or just really capture the market. So as they really drive into that, I think these are just capital allocation strategies they start to think about, because if you look at Fortinet's investor relations, and you look at their debt history, because macrotrends.com doesn't want to work right now, but they've never had debt, right, until recently. And I thought, why on earth would they do that? I was like, why would you get debt right now in this high interest rate environment? Look at this. They never had. Okay, it doesn't want to work. But they added some debt right here, right, to boost the cash on their balance sheet. And by the way, they've been buying back shares. They don't have a dividend. So they've been buying back shares and they boosted the cash on their balance sheet. But they took on $1 billion in debt. And I go, why would they do that? And they, by the way, a lot of insider ownership on this company as well. And cybersecurity, ever growing. And strong cash flows. But I go, why would they take this debt, right? Everything looks good. What's the point? And then I realized they took it in early 2021 and they acquired cash. Like they are paying back their debt at a rate of 1%. They issued bonds at a 1% interest rate because they're in such good financial standing. They've really never even taken on any kind of debt. They're like, all right, we'll take on $1 billion in debt because we can afford it. And in my viewpoint, in hindsight now, I mean, maybe you could say, oh, they didn't know this, they just got lucky. I don't think so. I think it was very strategic, and it makes me think, wow, management's very intelligent here. What they did was they took on debt and they issued bonds at a low interest rate to pay back of 1% prior to a rapid increase in interest rates. And now they have money market accounts, high yield savings, or short term government securities that are earning them about 5%. And you're paying an interest rate of 1% on that loan. So they were able to boost their balance sheet and just adapt to the environment you're in. And I think where I'm going with this is that GameStop begins to have this capability as they continue to have EPS positive, free cash flow be positive. They could really start to think about their capital allocation strategies, and how they operate as a business really begins to shift. But it really just starts with getting into Web3 and having that growth driving factor. And to me, vertically aligning everything. I think that's really so important. I think that's why they've mentioned in the past, like, yeah, we would consider acquisitions, but only if it really vertically aligns with the business. Because otherwise, why would you just get like a random name? Like, there's still, oh, BBBY merger. Oh my God. Like, that made no sense. Why would they just get into towels and kitchen and bed and bath? Like, that's so many categories. Kids at least kind of makes sense, right? And yes, okay, there's the Bye Bye Baby or whatever. But you could just get into like kids slowly, and you don't need to go acquire all this and all that. And what is there even left to buy? I mean, not even to get, I don't even want to get into all this, but like with Bed Bath, there are people like, oh, there's still something there with Bye Bye Baby. There's nothing. There's nothing. If you're trading BBBYQ, you are trading. There's no investment. There's no merger. Sure, GameStop wants to acquire the name Bye Bye Baby. Even if somehow that happens, they're gonna spend what, 20 billion of their 1.4 billion in cash. Like, what is that even gonna, or 1.3 billion or 1.2, whatever it is right now. I forgot off the top of my head, but it's whatever. It's nonsense, right? So they're only gonna make an acquisition that's gonna vertically align with their business, and I think that's a well-known brand or something with Web3, something with digital asset ownership, something that truly only makes sense. Otherwise, we're good. We're going to keep earning yield on our cash. We're going to keep just shifting the business as we have it from within as best we can. Because if you think about it, as you potentially take on an acquisition of a company or another business venture beyond digital asset ownership through the gaming platform of GameStop Player, if you start going that route, then your attention starts to become split, right? And then maybe you need to do more hiring, and then all of a sudden you're spending more again, right? So they have to be very strategic about what they're doing. And I think Ryan Cohen's tweet the other day was pretty funny. Oh, if you don't want to work, please leave. I think that was in reference to the girl that put that video out, or it was like there's an article about it. It was like it's boring here, blah blah blah. Like GameStop gets rid of manager who like always complaining on social media. I don't even know exactly what it was, but I think it was in reference to her, which I think is hilarious. And then by the way, in terms of social media, what Ryan Cohen replied to on Twitter, he replied to the person that made the video, and I believe that was a partnership video, and I believe I said that last time as well. But I really think GameStop could do a combination of marketing through the stores to get people online GameStop Player, then GameStop Player getting them in the stores. And then also I think individual content creators, kind of how I touched on before a little bit, how it's all about the individual now and connecting with brands. So I think if you get a guy like, I don't know, I keep saying Dr. Disrespect because I've seen him express interest in Web3 and digital assets in the past. And who knows, maybe this is something GameStop's been building behind the scenes, and then it's going to be a surprise thing. You sign one of these streamers to a contract, or you sign a couple streamers their contracts that are big and well known, and not that they're going to come necessarily stream on GameStop Player platform directly right away. I don't think that's something that's necessarily going to happen right away, but it does mention esports competitions and streaming. But maybe it's just streaming of esports. But then again, if you have creators, they're probably going to potentially be involved in esports, right? Not necessarily, but regardless, I think maybe they sign them to just embrace the brand of GameStop. And then maybe they're wearing a GameStop shirt while they're streaming. Or if they are participating in an esports event, their team is sponsored, a certain team or certain set of teams are sponsored by GameStop. But how exactly those deals would look, I don't know. And that's something I'm not too aware on. But I know there's definitely brand deals out there with athletes, right? So why can't there be with esports, especially as esports continues to grow? And then maybe esports is a part of the GameStop Player platform that they really continue to develop and build out more. So really, I think they're just going to keep building on GameStop Player because the wallet, the marketplace, e-commerce, the actual GameStop stores, that's all the pieces, right? But GameStop Player will really tie it together and in a digital landscape, whereas GameStop's not been digital truly ever. So I don't know. That's kind of some random thoughts there, putting everything together. But I hope that all makes sense. Let's see. Um, Maybe this or next month I'll buy a PS5 bundle with Final Fantasy 16 from GameStop. This is the way, Freshmaker. Always shop GameStop. Wasn't inverse for me. I forgot what I said now. My bad. It's a little too far ahead. But Tetron Cosmic Warrior crossover. It might have to happen, Scott. I might have to hit him up. I might have to make it happen. But really, I am trying to start having conversations soon. And for me, I'm really fully trying to organize myself as an individual before I start doing conversations and just get a little bit bent better at answering stuff and on the spot, honestly, because I feel like my streams with my rants, they've been good. And I feel like last time it was a good one, but I feel like in the moment, I like just forget things I'm going to say, or I have ideas I want to express or questions to ask. Like, even when I've done streams with Nathan, or once or twice I've done it with my friend John talking about Web3 gaming, which by the way, I'm going to try and do another one of those soon to get in practice. But I'm trying to just become better at the interview process or being the interviewee. So I'm also watching some stuff as well. So stay tuned for that. But sooner than later, I'm going to be out here more doing more conversation pieces and stuff like that. Because I know, Scott, I know you're trying to get on here too. So I'll keep you in mind. I got you. I got you. Just give me some time. Bro, congrats on paying your student loan. Amazing. Thank you, Crayon. Thank you. It feels great. And it's been quite the journey and tons of lessons learned. But I'm out here, only 23. So I'm really blessed to just have this small loan going forwards. And just thankful. So, Overstock bought the Bed Bath & Beyond brand name, right? Exactly, Freshmaker. Exactly. I think for actually Overstock, actually, I saw Gary Vee talk about this, saying how he thought it was a smart move. And in Overstock's position, I don't blame them because Bed Bath & Beyond is way more known than Overstock.com. So from Overstock's perspective, I don't think it's actually a terrible business move at all. I really don't think it's bad for 20 million. The risk reward for that, whereas who knows Overstock.com? Does the average person you ask know about that? Or like, yeah, I've heard of it, but nobody buys it. Whereas the average person, right, who maybe was like, oh, I used to know Bed Bath & Beyond. Oh, they revamped their website. There's new owners. Let me see. Like, they might actually browse there now. And then also anybody who's using Overstock, they get routed there. So I think from their perspective, it makes sense. Your sign wasn't inversed for the stream. Oh, it wasn't? Damn. Freshmaker, I gotta set it up then. Am I bugging? Maybe I'm just a goon, but I'm gonna set it up next time in that case. We'll get easier with practice. Toastmasters is how I learned. Good luck, Scott. Yeah, that's really the key, right? With anything in life, you just gotta kind of keep going at it. And I realize that's with streaming, that's with research, that's with analysis, that's with building a brand, building a channel. Because just like GameStop's building brick by brick and building on top, I'm trying to build Tetron, and that's what I realized. I have to start writing down my information and better organizing everything I'm doing because I'm just not going to scale if I don't do that. That's what I realized. So I had a really great tweet here, some great information. So I have to continue to follow the format of what's working because I've also followed Mr. Beast and been studying some of the stuff he says. And he's really made it as simple as when people say, oh, the algorithm doesn't like my video, it's people didn't like your video. That's how you should replace it and think about it because it's all about the individual and how they actually proceed the message or actually retain the retention rate on the video. So it's the same with tweets. It's the same with any platform. The more people that like it and view it, there's a reason more people are liking and viewing it. And whatever that reason is, you have to figure that out. And whatever that is, keep doing it. It's working, and then build upon that. So that's really kind of the method I'm trying to go. Obviously, especially with YouTube and him speaking on that directly, but Twitter as well, because I feel like Twitter is just a great way to put out information. I know there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now with it and like limited stuff. And from what I understand, there's going to be resumption of unlimited tweet viewing in the future. It's just for getting rid of bots right now, which I guess makes sense, but I don't know. I don't know the details on it, guys. So who knows? Maybe I'll start posting more elsewhere as well. But I really don't like TikTok and Instagram, but same time, it'd be great for growing Tetron, and I have to do more shorts and YouTube shorts. and TikToks and all that for just eventual growth. So just gonna figure it out, stay tuned. But I think that's pretty much it for today. Again, Dillard's is a case study, discuss a little bit of capital allocation and just, Telos. And I think the white paper will be a project for another day and just something to keep in mind with the US dollar. And this is what has me thinking about Bitcoin lately is just percentage of debt to GDP. Yes, it's going down a little bit right now because GDP is being revised and it seems like it's rising again. However, keep in mind, more dollars are still being printed right now. And if I'm not mistaken, in the past month alone, about a trillion was printed. So we went from about 31 trillion in total debt to 32 trillion. So just something to think about in terms of assets. And then also we just see a lot of money flowing to the top to big names like Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, and pretty much 7 or 8 names carrying the S&P. So it's an interesting time, right? I mean, there's other stocks at 52-week lows, 52-week highs. You have GameStop kind of somewhere in the middle. It's trading in no man's land, just kind of floating along right now. But we'll see, right? It's quite the time to be alive. It's quite the time to be a GameStop investor. It's quite the time to just walk this earth, right? But thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate everyone. I'm going to keep digging into this. Probably going to have to do another stream on this again soon because I didn't finish watching. Just the information here. The Telos Town Hall. And definitely if you guys have some time, I think you guys should check it out. And just any information on Telos would be good to understand, right? But if you look at this, it's specifically diving into the GameStop collaboration and the platform to be launched. So obviously these guys have been working, and maybe not just these specific individuals or necessarily these exact individuals, but there's definitely communications with GameStop's blockchain and Web3 teams. So I think that's very exciting, and I got to watch the rest of this and watch back probably even some of the beginning of it because just a big part of what they're doing, it'll probably give me some good insights here, and then trying to connect it with the information from the patent and the information I summarized last time to try and just build further on ideas. Because again, what I'm trying to do, just keep building on ideas. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me hit the chat one more time. Good stream, Tetron. Fitzy, thank you for being here. What up, what up? Good to see you, man. Appreciate you hopping in. Just got out of work. Check it in, Big T. Don, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. 25 or bust. Yeah, Fitzy, I mean, we're floating right there, right? We're just on that teetering mark. It's like, oh, 25, not quite there. Not quite today, right? Like it was just there. Where is it? At the chart. Just almost there. See, look at that. It says 24.99, and then we have 24.91 here. All these weird glitches. And I had a screenshot from before, too, where it also showed on my phone. It said, like, 24.91, and then the after-hours price was lower, but then it said, like, plus something. And I'm like, how is this always happening? I don't know, right? It's glitches, glitches, glitches. Who knows, right? So it is what it is. But if GameStop shows a profit in Q2, we will go up again. I think you're right, Freshmaker. I think the market's just kind of waiting on that. Not that it's the exact same scenario, but you got Palantir out here. Reports 1 quarter of profitability. Says, yeah, we're going to keep being profitable. Don't worry. Boom. Interestingly, it's like doubled, and it's just holding its position, right? So not that it'll be the exact same story or the exact same situation any which way, but the market right now really values profitability and just a strong balance sheet because of the high interest rate environment we're in. And Powell said we're probably going to raise rates twice more by the end of this year. And then even recently he was like, yeah, actually, don't rule out the possibility of back-to-back rate hikes. And it's like, hey, wait a minute, wouldn't that be more than 2 rate hikes before the end of the year? And then all of a sudden maybe we're already at like a 6% interest rate. And then we're starting to get to real crazy numbers. And it's like, what does 2024 look like? Holy crap. When that moment when you realize 2023 is basically half done, it's actually insane. It's actually insane, guys. Time really, really flies. And, the GameStop story, right, and the stock price as a whole, maybe it's not been exactly the way individuals have thought it would play out, right? I think everybody in the beginning thought this would happen a lot faster. Everything would happen a lot faster as a whole. And maybe even Ryan Cohen thought that, and that's why he's CEO now, right? So who knows? I don't know. And to me, the whole saga is just wonderful. And we see the charts all fixed up here. That's interesting how that was all weird, but whatever. To me, the saga has taught me so much. And obviously, it's brought me here on my YouTube channel and mainly talking about GameStop. But I'm starting to get more interested in Bitcoin, especially as federal debt just continues to increase. Yes, the percentage of debt to GDP is going down, but it's still well over 100%. And if you keep in mind, there's no high interest rates until right about here. So that's probably why we printed $1 trillion in the past month or so. So just some things I'm keeping an eye on, and definitely some other stocks I'm getting interested in, like Fortinet and Texas Instruments, just to again become aware of, but still mainly GameStop right now, and that's mainly what I'll be talking on. But just like GameStop growing brick by brick, I think I'm gonna keep growing brick by brick. So thank you guys so much for watching. Watch the video after your stream. Yes, I think this is the way, Freshmaker. And thank you very much for a good stream. And Pam, thank you for being here. Freshmaker, Fitzy, Don, Crayon, Scott, everyone I got out here, Chad, Aster, anyone else still in here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all you guys. And just keep betting yourself as an individual, just as I'm doing, whether it's through knowledge or whatever it may be, right? But have a good night.